Welcome to The Explainer. You know those people who are always quiet in a group? Ever wonder what's actually going on in their head? Well, today we're diving right into the psychology behind the quiet observer. And honestly, what we find might completely change how you see them, and hey, maybe even how you see yourself.
So, take a look at this. You're not shy, and you're definitely not stuck up. You're just busy reading the emotional temperature of the room before you decide it's safe to speak. Wow, does that hit home for you? If you've ever been called shy or worse, stuck up, just for being quiet, or if you're the one wondering about that person in the corner who's just listening, then yeah, you are in exactly the right place. That whole idea of reading the emotional temperature, that is the key to everything we're about to unpack.
And this right here, this just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the myths, the labels people slap on so easily. Oh, they're just shy. They seem so awkward. They must be uninterested. But the reality? That's a whole different story. It's not passive at all. It's incredibly active. They're processing, they're observing, they're reading the room. This isn't a weakness, folks. It's a superpower in disguise. Okay, so let's get into it. Our first big idea. Not shy, just observing. It's time to stop thinking about this as some kind of social flaw and start seeing it for what it is, a totally different and really powerful way of engaging with the world around us. And here's the absolute heart of the matter. It's not about being socially awkward. It's about processing information on a much, much deeper frequency. A quiet person isn't failing at being social, no way. They're actually succeeding at something else entirely. They're taking in a massive amount of data, all the little cues and vibes, before they ever decide to speak. All right, so if it's not shyness, what is it? Let's actually give this thing a proper name, a definition we can work with. Let's talk about the quiet observer.
So here's what we're talking about. A quiet observer is someone who processes social and environmental cues at a deeper than average frequency, and I love this part. They're analyzing the texture of silence before they contribute. The key things to grab onto there are deeper frequency and texture of silence. This isn't about running away from the conversation, it's about getting a feel for its very fabric, listening to what's not being said just as much as what is.
Okay, but what does that even mean, processing at a deeper frequency, or reading the texture of a room? It sounds cool, but what does it actually look like in practice? Let's break down that internal process. It really is like feeling the emotional temperature. That's a perfect way to put it. You're trying to understand all the group dynamics before you jump in. You know, while everyone else is talking over each other, the quiet observer is like an emotional detective, getting a read on the whole atmosphere, figuring out who holds the power, and tuning into all those feelings that are floating around but nobody's talking about. And this all happens in a flash, really. It's like this super fast four-step process going on inside their head. Step 1, they scan. They're just absorbing everything. The words, the body language, the whole vibe. Step 2, they process. They start to analyze that emotional texture and figure out what's really going on underneath. Then step 3, they calculate. Okay, what's the safest, most effective way to jump in here? And then, and only then, step 4, they speak. And that's exactly why when they finally do say something, it's often so darn insightful.
So this brings us to a really important point, the value of silence itself. Let's talk about how this quiet approach actually becomes a massive strength.
You know, far from being a weakness, this power of observation has some serious advantages. Because they've taken that time to listen and process, they get the unspoken dynamics that fly over everyone else's head. They're not the ones making impulsive, reactionary comments. Nope, their input is thoughtful and really considered. And get this, their silence can actually create a space for other people to feel comfortable speaking up. Honestly, a lot of the time, they're without a doubt the most perceptive person in the entire room. And all this leaves us with a really big question to think about, right? In a world that seems to reward whoever speaks first and loudest, what are we all missing by not listening to the quiet ones? So next time you're in a meeting or just hanging out with friends, look for that quiet observer. I promise you, they aren't checked out. They are checked in, just on a much deeper level. And whatever they finally decide to say, it might just be the most important thing you hear all day.